This may be the most insanely quiet CPU cooler I have ever tested. Howdy guys, Ponchato here, and today we're going to take a look at the Ninja 5 from Scythe. Thanks to Scythe for sending this over for review, and let's get started. The $60 Ninja 5 is a very large, really very large dual fan tower cooler. With both fans installed, it comes out to 138mm wide and a very hefty 180mm long. That's almost the entire length of a micro ATX motherboard, not including the rear I/O connections. Despite its enormous footprint though, Scythe made the smart choice of limiting the height to only 155mm, which means it will fit into the vast majority of ATX and micro ATX cases. It's also compatible with AM4, LGA 1151, and LGA 2066 sockets, and Scythe doesn't give it a specific TDP rating, but I would estimate it to be about 200 watts. It has 6 heat pipes and allows for RAM up to 55mm in height in both the front and rear, though that may be limited by how high you can position the fans on this cooler in your case. The two fans are Scythe's Flex 120mm PWM with an RPM range from 0 to 800 and a fluid dynamic bearing. The fans have rubber mounts on the corners to isolate them and reduce noise, and in typical Scythe fashion, do not have any LEDs. I just want to emphasize again, this thing is enormous and uses all the space available to a CPU cooler. Installation is surprisingly easy for a cooler this size. In fact, I'd go so far as to say this is one of the easiest installations I've performed. Scythe really nailed it with the AM4 socket, and they include the funny looking long screwdriver you'll need to mount the cooler, so you don't have to go digging for an extra long screwdriver yourself. Install starts with removing the AM4 mounting brackets, leaving behind the stock backplate. 4 plastic and rubber spacers get placed over the backplate mounting holes, and the 2 universal brackets are screwed into the backplate. Naturally, I put these on backwards first because reading directions is for the weak. After orienting them the right way, a dab of thermal paste goes in the center of the CPU. I took the protective cover off the base of the cooler and I set it down on the processor. The cooler is held down by a crossbar to the mounting brackets, and Scythe does remind you to alternate tightening them down so the bar doesn't get misaligned or bent. With the cooler mounted, the last step is to mount the fans and plug them in with the included PWM Y-splitter cable. As you can see here, I installed the rear fan backwards with it pushing air toward the front instead of pulling, but I corrected that before recording data. I'm very good at installing things backwards. And now let's go to the benchmarks. My test bench is a Ryzen 3 1200 overclocked to 4.1 GHz at 1.35 volts. The graphics card is a passively cooled GT 1030 from MSI, and thanks to Seasonic for the 850 watt Focus Plus power supply. Both the graphics card and power supply can run fanless, meaning the only sound coming from this system is from the CPU cooler itself. Load temperatures are taken with the CPU running Prime 95, and cooling results are reported as deltas, degrees above ambient temperature. First, we'll look at the idle results. These are the noise levels and temperature deltas with no programs running and the fans at their minimum RPM. Since the Ninja 5's minimum RPM is 0, this cooler is completely silent at idle, something I really wish more companies would design their coolers to do. Idle delta isn't very relevant in the real world, but for curiosity's sake I include it here as well, and the Ninja 5 does run a little warm. Note that warm here is about 34 degrees Celsius, so like I said, not too relevant. Now we'll look at the load results. These measurements are taken with Prime 95 running and the fans at full speed to show the cooler's upper limits. Since the Ninja 5 tops out at only 800 RPM, it is quiet. Very quiet. In fact, it is by far the most quiet cooler I've tested, more than 8 decibels lower than the next. At under 34 dB, it is only barely audible when sitting exposed on a desk next to you, but once it's in a case or paired with a non-passive GPU or power supply, in all likelihood, you won't be able to hear it at all. And it does this without sacrificing thermal performance, only a 35 degree delta above ambient, corresponding to a CPU temperature of about 55 degrees Celsius in my studio. That's impressive. Now my favorite graph, temperature versus noise. This is under load with the fan speed varied from 100% down to the minimum speed the cooler can run without thermal throttling the processor. As you can see, the Ninja 5 in yellow is simply quieter at any given temperature delta than any other cooler, with the gap only narrowing at very low fan speeds where everything is quiet anyway. Now here's the chart of cooler scores, a combined rating of temperature and noise. You can think of this as a metric to compare coolers running at their optimal speed balance between cooling performance and noise level. Owing to its insanely good acoustics, the Ninja 5 takes the crown here with ease. It's so significantly quieter than any other cooler that even though it only has upper mid-range thermal performance, the overall picture is dang near perfect. Finally, cooler score per dollar to show price to performance. As expected, the Ninja 5 falls in the middle of the pack here. It is an extremely good cooler, and $60 isn't outrageously expensive, but it isn't cheap either. If you're focused on getting the absolute best bang for your buck, less expensive coolers are almost universally a better choice. But then you need to ask yourself, is it really worth saving 20 bucks to miss out on dramatically better noise or cooling performance? That's a question only you can decide. and your wallet, I guess. Overall, the Ninja 5 is a fantastic cooler, especially if you're like me and you pay particular attention to how much noise your PC produces. Installation, though you'll likely only need to do it once, is very straightforward and fast. It took me just over 10 minutes, and that's only because I put the brackets on backwards to begin with. But the thing I love most about the Ninja 5 is its noise level. It is insanely, ridiculously quiet. 8 decibels quieter than the next closest cooler I've tested, and more than 10 decibels quieter than AMD's stock Wraith Stealth. The Ninja 5's gigantic heatsink really does work. The only potential downside here is RAM clearance, but if you have standard or close to standard height memory, which I pretty much always try to get, it's a non-issue. Oh, and on a final note, Scythe's manuals are among the best, with very easy to understand instructions and illustrations. They do a really good job on those. The Ninja 5 goes for 60 bucks, and if you want to pick one up for yourself, follow the link in the description. Hit subscribe and click the bell icon to get notified of new videos as soon as they're up. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to see more, hit subscribe, and I want to hear from you. With CPU coolers, do you care more about thermal performance or noise? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I hope I helped, and I'll see you in the next video. I did that in one take. That's amazing. If we're lucky, this will work out. How often do we get lucky? Never. This thing is huge. Look at the size of that thing. That's enormous. Nice work. That's annoying. It's too fast, but if I go down one, it's too slow. That's amazing. Wow. Good work, everybody. We did it.